Greetings, salutations. Welcome to this midday power surge, Thursday, January 20th, 2022. This is your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. Save to Serve International, first-time viewers, welcome one, welcome all to this midday power surge. We have a lot to cover today, and I'm going to actually be conservative with my input and applications. I believe the signs speak for themselves. The content I'm going to present, they do speak for themselves. And all these things show the church is actually in a crisis, brothers and sisters. Now, we have been seeing various videos, presentations, symposiums within the SDA community regarding the pestilence 19 crisis. Several weeks ago, the Liberty and Health Alliance had a sit-down, an interview actually, with Dr. Peter McCullough. That interviewer was Dr. Leela Lewis. And then afterward, several days after, there was another presentation with Dr. Conrad Vine, I believe. And all these presentations are showing us the crisis regarding the policies of the pestilence 19. Thereafter, we had a response from the various SDA churches. All right, brothers and sisters, we had the Ohio conference rescinding their employee inoculation requirement. Indiana Conference of Seventh-day Adventists also responded. And all these are in light of the ruling from SCOTUS that took place last week, Thursday. And we have been waiting for quite some time for the response from the General Conference leaders of Seventh-day Adventists. And the question is, will we wait in vain? The question is, will they ever respond? And since the ruling from SCOTUS, we haven't heard anything from the North American Division president, nothing from the General Conference president in light of the SCOTUS ruling. However, on yesterday, we came across an actual video that was streamed live, as you can see on the screen. Trans-European Division. All right, brothers and sisters, Pestilence 19 Symposium. And they actually gathered a panel. Individuals on the panel were Jennifer Woods, Peter Lanles, Carlos Cassiano, Patrick Johnson, and also Ganoune Diop. With that in mind, again, I'm going to segue right into this presentation, and I'm going to post the link to that video. It happened on yesterday. It was streamed live. So this is in light of the ruling that took place on last Thursday from SCOTUS, and also the various presentations from Seventh-day Adventists that are protesting the Pestilence 19 inimical policies. And here comes this panel. My friends, here is Ganoune Diop, and he's giving the overview of his presentation. Listen to what he said. Listen.
The following reflection actually addresses a critical question. Is the COVID-19 vaccine stance a religious liberty issue, a personal philosophical choice for fear of negative outcomes, or a deep misunderstanding of the scope of religious freedom itself?
In other words, your protest, he's telling us, your opposition to the Pestilence 19 policies and inoculation is simply based on fear of negative outcome. And Ganoune Diop is attempting to redefine what religious liberty really is. as he stands there, brothers and sisters, as the Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty at the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Now watch carefully, brothers and sisters. Watch. What are we told? In Great Controversy, page 203, that sets the principles of Protestantism, even religious liberty. There it is on the screen, my friends. Let's read some of this. Protestantism, all right, sets the power of conscience above the magistrate and the authority of the word of God above the visible church. Yes. In the first place, it rejects the civil power in divine things and says with the prophets and apostles, we must obey God rather than men. But it goes farther. It goes farther. It lays down the principle that all human teaching should be subordinate to the oracles of God. The protest of Spires was a solemn witness against religious intolerance and an assertion of the right of all men to worship God according to the dictates of their own consciences. And make no mistake about this, my friends. Please do not miss this point. That health and religion, based on the scriptures, are intimately connected. And what God has joined together, let no man, not even Ganoune Diop, put asunder. Not even the General Conference President, Ted Wilson, put asunder. Ganoune Diop went on to say that religious liberty is only justified in the context of this pandemic crisis. When a person lives in a rural district and doesn't come in contact with other people so that they will not transmit the disease. That's the only time religious exemption is justified. Did you hear me? Yes. If someone lives in the country and doesn't come in contact with other people. Listen to this ridiculous statement.
However, for someone who does not live alone in a remote and inaccessible place, with no risk of transmission of the disease of COVID, for example, conjugating one's preferences with societal obligations is not just a balancing act. In this case, in fact, the issues of the rule of law and personal and corporate responsibilities apply.
My friends, just allow that to sink in. And again, I want to be very conservative on the applications here. He went on to reiterate the Seventh-day Adventist Church's stance that they promote the mandate, they promote the prick. Now, bear in mind, this video, this presentation came after the SCOTUS ruling, which shows rebelliousness from the SDA leadership. It shows gross defiance to God's word and the principles of Protestantism and the true principles of religious liberty. This is what it shows. Ganoune Diop went on to say in this upcoming clip, he stated, the church will not change its stance. In other words, regardless of SCOTUS ruling, the church will not change its stance. He went on to state that to change its stance, it would impinge, he said, infringe on state authority, and that the church will simply promote and uphold what it votes. In other words, we will continue on the path we are on. Listen to this.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Department of Health and the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department have supported and made it clear that the health crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic is a public health issue, not one of religious liberty. Despite this clear stance and the encouragement to get vaccinated, some church members have insisted by various means that the church should change its stance. Some request letters of exemption, while being sensitive, of course, to the predicament and hardship of those who choose not to be vaccinated. The church has chosen not to issue exemption letters based on the prudence of not impinging upon the realm of state authority. The church can only promote actually what it officially votes.
Okay. In other words, my friends, SDA leaders would rather remain in harmony with diabolical state policies and simultaneously disregard its members' cry, its members' pain, its members' suffering. They would rather remain in cohorts with the state than to defend their members, defend the true principles of religious liberty, not what Ganoune Diop is trying to do by reinterpreting the principles of religious liberty, which hinges on the principle of Protestantism. I'm telling you, a serpent is in the house. Amos chapter 5, verse 18, verse 19. They are serpents, brothers and sisters. That's it. Isaiah 24, verse 17 through 18. And that's why Jesus said at the first advent to his professed church leaders, you are a generation of vipers. That's what we are seeing, brothers and sisters. He went on to state that personal conviction is not corporate responsibility. And he's going to state this. Please listen up carefully. He's going to state that we support the pestilence 19 inoculation and the mandates and the policies due to international law. Here's what I'm going to share with you. When the Sunday law becomes national and international, they will use that to say we cannot go against the state because it is national and international law. You know, I'm going to play the clip. Listen attentively. Weep and mourn as you hear this. Watch. I'll come back to that. Listen.
Now, personal conviction is not corporate responsibility, but corporate responsibility in the form of an official church position, such as, for example, the absolute right to observe the Sabbath, not to work on the Sabbath, not to take exams or to go to school on the Sabbath, is supported by international law and can benefit from accommodations and exemptions.
Hold on.
This is not the case for the choice.
Hold on. Did you catch it, my friends? He says not to take exams or to go to school on the Sabbath is supported by international law and can benefit from accommodations and exemptions. This is not the case for the choice not to be inoculated. No international law has been promulgated against inoculations. Did you catch that, brothers and sisters? So because international law supports Sabbath exemptions, the church will defend its members in that area. But because there's no international law against inoculations, the church supports the state and tramples upon its members' liberty of conscience. May I ask the question now? Will the Sunday law based on Bible prophecy be national and international? Yes. Following this trend, this reasoning, when the Sunday law becomes national and international, what will Ganoune Diop say if he's still in the office at that time? What will Ted Wilson say if he's still in office at that time? What will the leadership of the SDA church say if they are at the helm of the church at that time? We have to go along with the national and international policy. The serpents are in the house, my friends. It doesn't stop there. Let's continue.
Not to be vaccinated. No international law has been promulgated against vaccination. So the overwhelming majority of national medical experts and international health experts and institutions, such as the World Health Organization, recommend vaccinations in order to save lives and prevent avoidable death.
Brothers, let's pause right there. Are we told that when the Sunday law is enforced, we're simply going to be mandated not to work on Sunday? Or are we also told that we are going to be forced to work on the Sabbath and violate, desecrate the Sabbath? That's what we're told, my friends. Maranatha, page 177. How will they act and respond when the Sunday law is enforced? And by the way, the statement regarding that this is not a religious liberty issue has been debunked several times. Even the world is telling us it is a liberty, religious liberty issue. It's right there since the SCOTUS ruling. The world can tell you that, my friends. There it is. Huge win for freedom, liberties. The world can tell us that. But not these blind and dumb dogs in the church that claim to be leaders. My friends, Ganoune Diop went on to say, my friends, he went on to say that the majority of the individuals that try to submit a religious exemption letter are hiding under a cover, and that they are not holding to sincerely held religious beliefs. In other words, he's saying, I don't trust them. And he cited an actual report. Here's my point now. The mere fact he cited that report, it shows and confirms he believes what the report says. Listen to this.
Now, personal conviction is not corporate responsibility, but corporate responsibility in the form of an official church position, such as, for example, the absolute right to observe the Sabbath, not to work on the Sabbath, not to take exams or to go to school on the Sabbath, is supported by international law and can benefit from accommodations and exemptions.
Okay, listen to this now, friends, and tell me if you confirm and agree that this man is speaking with forked tongue. Watch this carefully, friends. Listen to this. This is Jennifer Woods. Hear what she says.
This would allow employees to request religious accommodations to vaccinations if the objection is based on a sincerely held religious belief. But as was stated in the earlier presentation, a religious belief does not protect personal non-religious beliefs such as social concerns, political concerns, economic views, or personal preferences regarding the safety of or efficacy of the vaccination.
Is Jennifer Woods an attorney, understands the actual ruling from the Supreme Court.gov? Hear what this says. It is not for courts to evaluate the truth or logic of an objector's religious beliefs about what would make them complicit in an immoral act. Religious beliefs need not be acceptable, logical, consistent, or comprehensible to others in order to merit protection. Listen.
One of the key ideas actually of the article is the thesis that freedom of religion was never meant to excuse people from obligations to apply to everyone.
Is that not the principle of the common good? The principle of the common good. The common good, says the Pope, is what? It's much more than the sum of individual interests. It moves from what is best for me to what is best for everyone. Common good principle, brothers and sisters. A picture says 1,000 words, right? Common good. You could see it right there. Listen.
The other aspect of freedom of religion or belief is the external forum or forum externum. The external expression of one's faith in the public space. But this one may be subjected to restrictions. And this is how, by the way, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, Article 18 specifies in the following. I quote, restrictions on the freedom to manifest religion or belief only if limitations are prescribed by law and are necessary to protect public safety, order, health, or morals, or the fundamental rights and freedoms of others. Now, in the current context of the COVID pandemic, therefore, it is a matter of public health and safety to limit, for example, freedom of assembly. It just makes sense to stop the spread of the virus and thus save lives.
It just makes sense. This is what he's telling us. That your liberties have limitations in a national, international crisis, just like what we are now seeing. Limits on freedoms, common good principle. And my friends, remember, he just mentioned health. He also mentioned calamities. Then what are we told, my friends, in Great Controversy, page 589? Does Satan know that? Yes. Will a Sunday law be enforced to combat the calamities, giving up your freedoms? This is what Ganoune Diop is promoting. And who said that freedom of speech has limits? The Pope said that. He said that. And look at the red arrow. The pontiff told journalists his assistant would expect a punch if he cursed his mother. Listen to this.
Abbiamo l'obbligo di dire apertamente.
Read the words.
Avere questa libertà, ma senza offendere. Perché è vero che non si può reagire violentamente, ma se il dottor Gasparri, grande amico, mi dice una parolaccia contro la mia mamma, ma gli aspetta un pugno. Ma è normale, è normale. Non si può provocare, non si può insultare la fede degli altri.
Give up your rights, brothers and sisters. Give up your rights. Here comes Jennifer Woods, actually now confirming and reiterating, watch carefully, the vax mandates. The principle of common good. Listen.
Yes. In the seminal case of 1905 called Jacobson v. the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the court upheld the state of Massachusetts vaccination mandate over the objection of a vaccination objector, Mr. Jacobson, stating that there are times for the public good that an individual's liberty may be restrained. Courts have held that states have a compelling interest in the protection of its citizens from communicable diseases. And the courts have not found that there is a legal requirement to provide religious exemptions to these vaccination mandate programs. Despite this,
This is what SDAs are promoting. Do you know it was a similar principle of the common good that led to Christ being crucified in John chapter 11? Look at this, my friends. Yet we're told from the SCOTUS ruling this past Thursday that employees who object to the inoculation can submit religious or medical exemption. It's right there, my friends. It's right there. It's right there. Again, a second witness. Let's move on. She continues. Listen.
So this illustrates a tension that governments face between respecting individual liberty and protecting the public health. What's in an individual's perceived best interest may at times not be in line with what the government has determined is in the best interest of the community at large. And when governments consider whether to mandate vaccines, they're balancing these two competing interests, protecting individual freedoms and protecting public health. They're weighing to what extent they can allow an individual to act according to his or her conscience without exposing the community to harm based on that individual's actions. To ethically justify vaccination mandates, the overall benefit of the mandate needs to outweigh the risks involved.
In other words, she is reiterating what the conference said. North American Division, Office of General Counsel, Loma Linda Health, the Biblical Research Institute, North American Division, and what did they put in print, my friends? Submit to government mandates. It's right there, friends. It's right there. Move on. Here comes Peter Landless. And what did he say? Friends, he actually stated that we are encouraging the members to receive the pestilence 19 prick, not mandating it. Two things. Watch carefully. Number one. There need to be a distinction between the pestilence 19 prick and all the other pricks throughout history. Two separate categories. But what they are doing to deceive God's professed people is conflating both and acting and promoting as if the pricks from yesteryear is the same as the pestilence 19 panacea. That's a deception, brothers and sisters. Now, secondly, Dr. Landless went on to say, listen, we are not mandating, just encouraging. I'm going to play the clip. And listen, who is he trying to deceive? What has the conferences been promoting? Encouragement? Or were they telling employees it is obligatory? Which one? Listen to this, my friends.
And as we witness the global magnitude of the pandemic, the deaths, the disability, and the long-term COVID-19 effects that are emerging in all grey age groups, we are encouraging our members to consider responsible immunization and the promotion and facilitation of the development of what is commonly termed herd immunity. Notice, we're encouraging, we're not mandating it as a church.
And again, this is post-SCOTUS ruling. Oh, listen, church, we're simply encouraging, not mandating. Maybe I am illiterate and unintelligent. What do you see on the screen right here, my friends? Does that say submit to government mandates, even in the context of pestilence 19 inoculations? Is that what that said? What date is that? October 25th, 2021. Move on. What did the Kentucky-Tennessee Conference president put in print? They, the conference leaders, will have to mandate whatever SCOTUS rules. That's it right there. It's right there. What did the Southwestern Union Conference put in print? By the way, look at the blue words underlined. It is our belief that the SDA church should not be the enforcer of government policy. There should be a separation of church and state. Why would they put that in print? If there was no talk and nothing coming down the pipe from the leadership position, GC, NAD, that they are going to mandate. Think about that, my friends. All right. What did Indiana SDA conference put in print? The Ohio conference put in print. Red words, red arrow. Please know the administration seeks to comply with this order only out of compulsion. What does that mean? A mandate. That's what that means. Idaho. Who is he trying to deceive? All right. What happened at Adventist Healthcare? They're in Maryland. Did they not fire individuals because they refuse to give up their liberty of conscience and also their religious liberty on this issue. People were terminated, my friends. And Adventist Healthcare in Maryland based their policy on the General Conference, the voted policy of the SDA Church. He's being disingenuous. Listen again to the Arkansas and Louisiana Conference president. Listen.
Place. I will just say this: we do not believe that the conference should be the enforcer of government policy.
And now, why would he state that publicly? Because he knew that was what the conference leaders have been discussing, and in many cases have mandated this on many of their employees. Let no one deceive you, my friends. And that's why we need individuals to not allow them to get off the hook so easily. No, friends. No apology. They are defiant. By the way, Dr. Landless went on to say that taking the pestilence 19 inoculation has nothing to do with clean and unclean. Remember now, it's post the SCOTUS ruling. Listen.
So what does the church say about the COVID-19 vaccines, looking as far as taking a vaccine being unclean? Again, this has also been alluded to already in the presentations today. In this regard, it should be clarified that the abiding biblical instructions forbidding the consumption of unclean food and blood do not apply to vaccines, for the obvious reason that vaccines are produced as medication to save lives and not to serve as food. And this was an input by the Biblical Research Institute after careful consultation and helping us to understand the approach that we as committed, practicing Seventh-day Adventists may follow in our health practices.
Mm-hmm. How many of you believe that, my friends? He continued to state that, listen, God is leading the church based on the stances and the positions the church has taken in this pestilence 19 crisis. That's what he said. And after the SCOTUS ruling, he went on still promulgating and peddling the deception that Ellen White's writings does support members receiving the pestilence 19 elixir. Look at this, my friends. There it is. Now, here comes Ganoune Diop. My friends, this is nothing humorous, what I'm going to share with you now. He's going to state the reason in his mind why the SDA Church does not grant religious exemption letters. Listen to this.
Health, and again, we cannot use the Bible as weapon. Now, let me just go here to say this. All this means that neither on medical safety ground, nor on biblical religious ground, can objections to vaccines be justified. Doctors are qualified to identify cases when it would be medically unsafe for someone to take the vaccine. But this is not the competence of the church and its administrators. And that is the reason why letters of exemptions, we are not giving them precisely. So,
friends, if someone were to ask Ganoune Diop, what is the mark? What is a sign of the beast? I wonder what his response would be. Let's not guess and speculate. Let him tell the world church what the sign of the beast is. You would expect him to say Sunday worship when it becomes the law of the land. That's not what he said. He said the sign of the beast. You know how the algorithms are. The sign of the beast is simply individuals accepting a counterfeit means of salvation. What is that? Listen to this.
Now, those who obey God and who are sealed are set in contrast to those, and this is in the context of the book of Revelation, in contrast to those who choose disobedience willfully to God's commandment and who do not have the faith and righteousness of Jesus. So those who will receive the mark of the beast have settled actually for counterfeit means of salvation.
Did you hear that, my friends? A person who doesn't understand what the mark of the beast is, or may I say, is somewhat a cowardice to publicly state what it is. How can you trust such person in leadership position? Number one. And also be a voice of authority in this current crisis. My friends, what I'm telling you is not something someone told me or I read in the book. It's right there in print. You heard it for yourself. You saw it for yourself. Remember, I sat in a class with Ganoune Diop. He was one of my professors. I know what he has taught in the classroom. And by the way, that class was called Revelation. We were going through the book of Revelation. I know exactly what he teaches publicly on what the sign of the beast is. I know it, friends. So this was not a shock. This was not surprising. By the way, watch this. He went on to state that in order to combat this crisis, we must give up our liberty, give up our freedom, and we must stand on the principle of solidarity and uphold the dignity of other human beings. That sounds good, flowery words, but do you know that's a direct quote from Pope Francis? That's a direct quote from Jesuitism. That's a direct quote from Roman Catholic social teaching. Watch this.
On the contrary, one of its distinctive features is solidarity with other human beings based on the dignity of human conscience. Now, on the issue of the government's entitlement to our citizens...
Hold on. Friends, this needs to... You know what? Friends, this needs to be told. Watch carefully what he went on to say here.
The pivotal position of religious freedom among other freedom. Actually, religious freedom does not...
Okay, watch carefully what he said.
The pivotal position of religious freedom among other freedom. Actually...
Now watch that top paragraph. Misusing religious freedom on the issue of inoculation weakens the pivotal position of religious freedom among other freedoms. Okay, continue now.
Religious freedom does not exclude social responsibility. On the contrary, one of its distinctive features is solidarity with other human beings based on the dignity of human conscience.
All right.
Now,
hold on. Where is he getting that statement from? Solidarity, human dignity, give up your religious freedom? Look at this statement, brothers and sisters. Watch carefully. This is Pope Francis, headline, Catholic social teaching is fundamental to tackling world issues, the Pope says. Look at the bottom paragraph. And what consists the Catholic social teaching? Look at that. He listed the principles of the dignity of the person, the common good. What else? Solidarity, subsidiarity, and the care for the earth. Roman Catholic social teaching, friends. I wonder, where did Ganoune Diop attend school and get his degrees and education? Where was he taught to not be promoting these damnable heresies? And by the way, Ganoune Diop, in his own words, publicly stated on this panel, he said that he does support government intrusion, even the government asking you for your papers. Your papers, please. Your papers, please. Listen to this.
The pivotal position of religious freedom among other freedom. Actually, religious freedom does not exclude social responsibility. On the contrary, one of its distinctive features is solidarity with other human beings based on the dignity of human conscience. Now, on the issue of the government's entitlement to ask citizens to be vaccinated, it may be worth remembering the provision that I just mentioned of the ICCPR to protect public safety. Public health matters can be monitored by governments to prevent more death, as in the case of COVID-19. Obviously,
monitored. It's okay for the government to ask citizens to be inoculated. Implication, then tell us and show us if you are. Show us your papers. That's what the man promotes, my friends. Your papers, please, is an expression associated with police state functionaries demanding identification from citizens during random stops or at checkpoints. It is a cultural metaphor for life in a police state. That's what he promotes, brothers and sisters. That's what he promotes. Let me see something. That's what he promotes. And the question is, where is the protest? Has the protest been nullified? We need to hold these leaders accountable for their apostasy. And many of you have voted them in. Yes, you have. You still support them. But what are we told in volume 5, page 14? They should be terminated. They should be defrocked. That's one of the reasons why God cannot use this current apostate SDA leadership to finish the work in these last days. They are going to be bypassed. Yes, surgery must take place. God must raise up individuals who don't take orders not connected to these apostate, serpent-like leaders in the SDA leadership position. He has to bypass them, friends. Has to bypass them. And our prayer must be, Lord, do not pass us by. Please, Lord, do not pass us by. May we be found faithful in these last days of Earth's history. All right, friends, I'll leave it there. Stand up. Stand up. Don't bow the knee. Stand up for Jesus. Why? We are soldiers of the cross. I'm going to stop it right here. By God's grace, we will come back and say some more.
Stand up for Jesus, ye soldiers of the cross. Lift high his royal banner, it must not suffer loss. From victory unto victory, his army shall he lead, till every foe is vanquished, and Christ is Lord indeed. Stand up for Jesus, the trumpet call obey. Forth to the mighty conflict in this his glorious day. Ye that are his now serve him against unnumbered foes. Let courage rise with danger, and strength to strength oppose.
I want to put something here, friends. I really want to put something that's very, very important, and not to omit this. Very, very important. Friends, take a listen to this. I'm going to launch this here. Take a listen to this.
Now, the question of religious freedom or freedom from logic. Of course, it is not helpful to question people's motivations. However, it has been reported that experts who have studied the issue have come to the same conclusion. I quote, "Almost everyone who claims a religious exemption is using it as a cover for secular concerns, like fear of side effects or a general distrust of government."
Brothers and
Dr.
sisters,
Rubenstein writes,
why would Ganoune Diop put that in his presentation? Because he believes it. Because he believes it. How can you have this man representing you, representing the church members? Maybe I need to put that back on the screen so you could see what was just said. Listen, friends. Look at the words.
Now, the question of religious freedom or freedom from logic. Of course, it is not helpful to question people's motivations. However, it has been reported that experts who have studied the issue have come to the same conclusion. I quote, "Almost everyone who claims a religious exemption is using it as a cover for secular concerns, like fear of side effects or a general distrust of government."
All right.
Dr. Rubenstein writes,
Brothers and sisters, what more can be said here? What more can be said here? You know what? By God's grace, we will resume at the appointed time. Let's let everyone know in this denomination if they are linked to the conference or if they're independent of the SDA conference. God says the protest must continue. Don't mask it. Probation is soon to close. Maranatha.